What's up, Bug Geeks? This is Aaron with Phoenix Pest Control in Knoxville, Tennessee, and you're listening to the world's #1 pest control training podcast, the Pest Geek Podcast with Frank Hernandez.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek podcast. I am Frank Hernandez, your pest geek, here discussing all things pest. We want to remind our audience to join in on the revolution. That's right, join in on the conversation, be part of the society. Pest Geek Podcast Listeners Group on Facebook. And we're on YouTube. We're on the web, pestgeekpodcast.com. Check out there the notes, everything that we put into the podcast. They're all on there. And here is Stephen Van Tassel with today's topic.
Thanks, Frank. Stephen Van Tassel here, wildlife control consultant, bringing you another interesting episode for the Pest Geek podcast, talking about wildlife today. Specifically, where do you find quality training to help you improve your business? Well, we all know the first place, of course, is going to be the Pest Geek. But what if you need something a little bit more intensive, perhaps some hands-on, networking with people, perhaps a seminar or workshop, something like that, where you need to really ramp up and get a lot of ideas and kind of take a little vacation, perhaps, that you can write off as a business expense. Well, there aren't a lot of options for wildlife control operators. There are some, but not a lot. And then you have to be careful of the quality of the information that you're going to be getting. So let me talk to you a little bit about an upcoming event that's occurring in February. Let me be a little more specific. It's going to be February 6th through 8th, 2019. I know we're dating ourselves here, but it's going to be occurring at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. This is the Wildlife Expo run by the National Wildlife Control Operators Association. Now, truth in advertising, I'm a little biased. I'm a founding member of the National Wildlife Control Operators Association. I was there in New Jersey when the meeting took place to even begin the association. So I'm one of the few people left that have been there from the actual inception of the association. And I'm also a board member. So again, just truth in advertising here. I'm biased. I'm not a speaker at this particular event. I will be involved in some trainings that occur before and after the event because NWCOA offers certified training courses prior to the expo and after the day after the expo. For example, we offer the the Wildlife Control Operator Training Course, which is a 2-day class that covers the fundamental issues about wildlife control. So even if you've been in business for 20 years, we've had students who've taken the course and have said, yeah, I'm surprised at how much they learned. Of course, if you have new technicians that you're wanting to put through and get them up to speed pretty quickly about the terminology, the equipment, what they should do, what they shouldn't do in terms of wildlife control, that course is the way to go. And of course, there's an exam, so they have to pay attention at the end of that. And so, plus they're able to really get into some discussion with the instructors should they want to do that. Because we're right there. We're not just one of these fly-in instructors where we swoop in, teach, and then we're hitting the plane just as soon as the course is over. That's not how this works. Other opportunities there are the Advanced Wildlife Control Operator Training course. Now you have to have the Wildlife Control Operator Training course as a prerequisite before you are eligible to take the Advanced. It's just a warning. If you have technicians that are perhaps you're afraid that they're going to go off on their own. That may not be the course for you because it's still designed for the business owner. So there's some business tips in there that you may not want your employees to be aware of. We're also offering a bird control class that would be pretty impressive. I think people are going to be pretty happy with it. And then we also have our BAT standards class. And I believe there's another one that just escapes me at the moment. So we've got a fair amount of training occurring before and after the Expo. But perhaps you're not willing to do that right now. You're like, oh boy, that's a lot of time. I really can't do that. So what about the Expo? I need to get some short training events. So the Wildlife Expo is going to be held in Myrtle Beach. And it's going to be, again, that 2 days. It's going to be pretty awesome and intense because of the amount of information that's going to be there. So let me tell you how it's structured. How it's structured is that we basically have a couple plenary sessions. That's where everyone's together in a big room getting a presentation. And then we have breakout sessions where they're going to be concurrent. And typically we try to have trainings that go along 2 different tracks. Track 1 is going to be business-related issues, such as tips for running a successful wildlife control business. That's going to be offered by a gentleman named Paul Winkleman out of Wisconsin. And then at another time, you may get a presentation that's going to be maximizing the benefits of your canine division, or targeted exclusion for prefab exclusion solutions. So we try to have a mix of presentations that are going to cover both business-oriented issues and then control and technical issues, like how to do X. So the business stuff is going to be thinking about backroom operations, back office, how to run websites, marketing, insurance, those types of issues. And then the control courses are going to talk about how to get rid of the X, or how to manage X, or how to do exclusion, how to make a repair in this particular house, how to do the chimney cap crowning, and things of that nature. So they try to you have your option in each of the concurrent sections. Sometimes that doesn't happen. There's probably a little bit more on the control side because it seems to be where most people are interested in. But it's going to be huge. And so that's one place that you can go to get a lot of training in a hurry. You may say, well, a lot of people in wildlife control think they know everything. Or as one guy told me, what am I going to learn at the National Wildlife Control Operators event? Well, I guess if you're God, there's nothing more to learn, right? If you know everything, there's nothing more to learn. So what we find is that I keep looking on Facebook and I see people throwing up questions here or there. Not that there's anything wrong with that per se, but sometimes a lot of these questions are going to be easily solved by getting some additional training, and getting connected with people that are going to help move their training to another level. You may say, well, is that it? Is it just going to be more information? Yeah, but there's more to it than that. Part of what you're going to be learning as well is getting in contact with vendors, and there may be suppliers and equipment that you're not even aware of. Maybe you're not purchasing your items from the best provider in terms of that particular product. Maybe there's a new tool out there that's going to solve a particular problem that you're having that's maybe taking more time to resolve than what you need to be spending, and that vendor can give you something that can dramatically improve the efficiency. Because let's face it, there's only 2 ways to make money in wildlife control. You either have to charge more, or you have to reduce your costs. Let me put it 3 ways. You either have to charge more, reduce your costs, or become more efficient. That is, you're finishing the job faster than what you could before, so you can increase your hourly wage, which is just another way of getting paid a little bit higher. In other words, if person X is taking 2 hours to do the job for $100, which is pretty low, obviously, if I would say more like 200, and you're able to go in there and to do it in an hour, you're making $200 an hour. Granted, it's gross, but the reality is that you have a competitive advantage over your opponent, over another business in that particular point. So you're able to maximize your time, because the biggest challenge in the wildlife control industry is time. It is a very time-intensive business. So the fact of the matter is, if you don't have the ability to do your job quickly and efficiently as much as is possible, you're not going to be able to maximize the kind of income. You have to charge more, and when you start charging really high prices, it puts a lot of your customers out of reach. So that's point number 2 about why you should be getting trained. You need the skills that you're going to learn at the training. Number 2, you need to get the equipment that you're going to need to do the training. And then the third element is the connections. And this is something that's frequently overlooked when it comes to wildlife control. And as who you know can be just as important, if not more important, than what you know. There's a lot of things in wildlife control I don't know. But I know enough people in this industry, I can make a couple of phone calls. And if that knowledge exists, I could probably find it. Why? Because I know people. If you're not connected with other people in this industry, you are at a major competitive disadvantage. And there are things that only another person is going to be able to understand who's in this business, who can give you that insight on how to resolve those problems. Because as great as training is, training can't cover every single situation that you're struggling with. It's simply not possible. Can it do a lot? Yes, but there are things that you need to have those connections. The other issue is by having colleagues, when something goes wrong, maybe you get hurt, maybe you get the big job that you don't have enough labor for. Having connections means you may be able to make some phone calls and get some guys showing up to help you handle that big job, and then they go away. Why? Because you have friends in the industry, because there's things you can talk about to people who are not within your service area. So you're talking to a person maybe who's 2 states away. What's the likelihood of you two being competitors? Pretty slim. So I do hope you consider joining us at the National Wildlife Control Operators event in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Again, those dates are going to be, as I pull them up one more time here, February 6th through the 8th, 2019. So how do you register? Well, you go to NWCOA.com, NWCOA.com, and then there'll be information there where you click it and register. You want to do it quickly. Get your hotel room, sign up, drive in, bring a friend, learn. I guarantee you will have a great time. And hey, if you show up, look out for me. I'll be there. Stephen Van Tassel. I'm the Western Regional Director for the National Wildlife Control Operators Association. Say, hey, Stephen, I heard about it on the Pest Geek podcast. I'll be glad to meet with you, chat a little bit. So I hope you'll be able to see you soon. Now, for those of you on the West Coast who may not want to make that big flight out, there is another event that I want to make you aware of. That's coming up in the end of January. The dates are going to be January 25th, January 26th, 2019. It's going to be occurring in the Bear Hotel in Grants Pass, Oregon. This is the Pacific Northwest Wildlife Training Winter Conference Seminar. It's going to be a training on Friday. We're going to be doing the NWCOA's Bat Standards class. I will be one of the presenters for that, and I have a colleague from Virginia who will be joining me to give that training. And then on Saturday, I will be doing my training with the Wildlife Control Consultant. It's my personal business, as you know, and I'll be providing 5 hours of training on the following subjects: raccoons and recent research, cage and box trapping techniques, wildlife damage inspection, control of turf damaging animals, squirrel biology, and trapping techniques. And that'll be 5 hours, and you will get WCO credits for the state of Oregon. And I don't know if he has any additional courses, any additional credits beyond the state of Oregon. I don't know about that at all, but you will need to sign up. And where do you go? You could basically contact Dave Mays at 541-787-5010. And he's the person running that particular. He owns Pacific Northwest Wildlife Training. There's also a web link on Facebook, facebook.com/PN Wildlife Training, and that'll give you some more information. So that is going to be 2 places where you can get some solid information. Let's say you can't make either of those 2 events. Shame on you. You should be showing up to one of them. But if not, you can certainly follow up with NWCOA, and there's going to be regular regional events that are being occurring. We have a part-time training coordinator with Greg Shoemaker, and he's been doing a huge job getting trainings done around the country. So chances are there's going to be one near you. So distance is not going to be a big excuse for you. You'll have to come up with a better one that it's too far away, because the reality is that this is going to be something that you should get. And I would pretty much assure you that you're going to learn something that's going to help make that trip worthwhile, because there's a lot of things that we sometimes think we know, and a different perspective really helps illuminate, because if you're not learning, you're dying. So you want to be sure that you're keeping on the edge and keeping your skills sharp, because you don't have enough time to do it twice. That's it for me. I'm Stephen Van Tassel, Wildlife Control Consultant. Back to you, Frank.
We hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. Until next time, have a pestacular day.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.